Hey everybody, welcome to Ken Knows Gambling, and I'm going to do a little something different. I'm going to do another three-part series, but this time it's going to be on Texas Hold'em. I did have one of my subscribers ask for this, and I think it sort of makes sense, and here's why I say that. I tell everybody in their repertoire of gambling they need sports betting and they need Hold'em. And then, Baccarat or craps or another game. You need at least three of them to fall back on. And so I can't tell you that without actually teaching you how I do Hold'em, how I do well doing Hold'em. So I'm going to do that in a three-part series. The first part is going to be your basic cash game, how to bet. Now, I've already done a video on how the button moves and the big blind, little blind. So go find that video and that'll give you the absolute basics. So we're going to jump up to now. You're at a cash game, how to bet, when to bet, that sort of thing. Now, that'll be this video. The next video will be tournaments. If you're playing all in, no limit. And I'm going to tell you on this video when I get over the table why I don't want you to play no limit. There's no reason for it unless you're Daniel Negreanu or Ivy or Bonamo, whatever his name is. There's no need to play no limit, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But if you're going to play a tournament, they are no limit, and I'll go into sort of how I bet tournaments. Okay, and then the last part of the series, I'm going to teach you a few tells. If people are lying or if they're even telling the truth. I want to get into that too in this three-part series. Now, I'm wearing my little hat right now because I need a haircut. And I'm sort of hiding my head. And then I'm getting this bushy. I do all that today at some point because I haven't... I've been sick and just ain't felt like doing it, but I got to do that sometime today. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do, a three-part series on Hold'em. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get ready for part one. So without any further ado whatsoever, let's get to it. Okay, everybody, we're at the table. And this is going to be the first video in a series of three. I don't think I can make four out of it. We're going to do it all in three. So this one is about cash games. Why do I want you to play cash games versus even pot limit or no limit? There's a reason for it. We're going to cover that. We're going to cover what you're going to stay with on the first two cards and why. Okay, we'll cover that and maybe a couple more little minor things in here, but we'll keep this fairly short and simple. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. All right, first thing is why a cash game, and let me explain what a cash game is. Cash game is $1, $2. In other words, on the small blind, that's $1. Big blind is $2. If you haven't watched my introduction to Hold'em, go back and watch that video and it'll explain the very, very basics of Hold'em. But again, the small blind represents the bet. Big blind represents the raise. And then everybody after that either has to fold, call, or raise. Okay. Now, I don't even care where the button is. When you get into no limit, pot limit, then this button will mean something. Okay, because the guy sitting just to the side of the button, he is going to get the last call or raise. He'll go all the way around here, and the guy sitting over here has the hammer. Well, the way I'm going to teach you to play a cash game, I don't even care where it's at. You're going to play it the same no matter where that dealer button is. Now, if we get into higher cash games, we get into pot limit, no limit, yeah. And we'll get into that on the next video. But today, for these 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 6, okay, these are cash games. $1, $2. $2, $4, $3, $6. Go up to $5, $10. That's as high as I want any of you guys to go. Now, if you guys are Daniel Negreanu and Phil Ivey and Jesus Ferguson and Bomano, I think it's how you pronounce Bonamo or Bomano, one of the world's best, you don't even, this video doesn't mean anything. But ain't none of us that damn good, right? So this is going to be the basics of a cash game and why I want you to do it. Well, the first reason I want you to do a cash game from 1-2 to 5-10 is because most people playing those games are your weekend warriors. Okay? They're going to play the game like they were playing at home, smoking their cigar, drinking their beers, and they're not as serious about it. A lot of them are river rats. Okay? A lot of them will go all the way to the end trying to bluff you for a $20, $30, $50 pot. You can't bluff somebody at this level. Now it's going to be, to me now, this is my opinion, it's going to be all about the cards now because everybody's going to try to river rat you. And if you'll play tight like I'm telling you to play, then you're going to kick these little weekend warriors' butts. Just please believe me on that. Okay, so that's why I want you to do cash games. Okay, now, how much do you buy in for? I'll generally buy in for 50 times the big blind. So, if I'm playing a 1-2 game, 50 times 2 is 100. I'll come in for $100. That's it. Okay? Because you got to keep in mind, this table has 8, but the real casinos will have 10 people. Man, you don't have to make a bet at all. But twice out of 10, you can sit there like a bump on a pickle and observe things. That's why I like this game. Maybe you got smacked over at the crap table or whatever. You can come down here and relax and pick up some bucks. Pick up maybe what you lost over there. This is why I do this. Now, I've told everybody you got to have Hold'em, sports betting, along with craps or baccarat. I tell everybody you've got to do it, but yet I haven't really taught anybody the nuts and bolts of it. So I had a gentleman, subscriber, ask me to do this series, and I thought it was a hell of an idea, and that's why we're going to do it. All right, so you sit down, you bought in, and now you're going to start. You get your first 2 cards. Everybody gets 2 cards, all right? I'm not going to do it all the way around, but you get the idea, okay? Now, also keep in mind, there's 52 cards in here. That's it. But the max that they're going to use is about 26. Half of it. Half of the cards will stay, that's another reason you do not chase. You don't chase in Hold'em because you may be wanting the 8 of spades. That's what's going to fulfill your life. And sit here on the bottom, it'll never even come out. Okay? Remember that. On 10 people playing, there's 20 cards. Plus the 5 community cards. There's 25, plus some burn cards. 27, 28 cards. I mean, that's going to even be out of here. You've got to keep that in mind. So there's rule number 1. Don't chase. You don't have to, okay? All right, everybody's got their 2 cards. All right, at this moment, you have to decide what you're going to do. And here's what I want you to do. Based on your 2 cards, will determine whether you stay for the flop. All right, what is the flop? It's those first 3 cards, first 3 community cards that they flip over, okay? Now, this is what I want you to stay on. This is what I want you to stay on. Let me get these out of the way because we really don't even need them. Right here. Ace 10 to Jack 10. Ace 10 suited. Ace Queen suited. Ace King suited. Okay? Ace 10 offsuit. Ace Jack offsuit. Don't care. Anything from Ace 10 to Jack 10, suited or not, is going to be good enough for the flop. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if your first two cards are shit cards, 3, 5, 6, 2, you're going to get whacked. You do not chase. You do not become a river rat or a turn rat. Okay? Your two cards, you have to think to yourself, they have to be good enough that if no other cards were going to be dealt, no community cards, no nothing, you have to decide whether you think your two cards at that moment are better than everybody else's two cards. Remember, half the deck you'll never even see. Okay? So that's why I'm giving it to you this way. All right? So I want you to stay on anything ace to a 10. It could be a king, queen. It doesn't matter. All the way down to 10 jack suited. That's as low as I want you to go. Now, why? Because anything in this set can, obviously, if they're suited, you've already got 2 to a flush. And if it comes out 3 more cards to fulfill your flush, you got a high flush. You're going to win. Okay? Now, the 10 jack offsuit, that's the lowest I want you to go. And at least it's an inside for a straight possibility. It's good enough to go to the flop. All right? Ace 10 to jack 10, anything. Stay to see the flop. A lot of times people will play hold'em and they'll see their two cards and they say, well, if everybody checks, I'll be in. But then somebody will raise them and then they'll just go ahead and call the raise just to see the flop. Well, if your two cards ain't good enough, I don't care about the flop. Don't worry about it. Just muck them. Go away. All right, so we got the ace 10 to the jack 10. Then any pair. Okay? Any pair. Aces to twos. Okay? Yeah, that's a low pair, but a pair of twos is better than an ace king suited. Barely. I mean barely, but it is. Okay? So, any pair, any ace through 10. That's what you're going to stay with. All right. For anything else, muck them. I'll say that one more time. Anything else, muck them. All right? So I'm going to get into a couple of whys. Why do I say that right now? But for just this time being, I want you to have at least 2 really good cards so you can see the flop. All right? Now, once that flop is out, will dictate your next move. Just like you were going, well, I think my 2 cards are just as good or better than anybody else. So obviously you're going to, call all raises and whatnot. That's fine. All right, that gets you to the flop. So then here comes the flop. Boom. Now what are you going to do? Well, we're going to say this is what we stood on. Okay? Let's go down to the low pair. In this particular flop, now you got 3 twos. Man, you're in a good spot. It is now worth raising, calling raises. Okay? Definitely, pair of aces still have high on the board. Okay? So, but let's go over here. What if you had the 10 jack and then the queen? They're off suited. I'm looking at this and go, well, I don't have any flush possibility. Okay? Yeah, I would have to have a king and an ace, to get a straight. There's no way on this hand am I going to stay with this one. There's no way. Okay? So you have to look at now these 2 cards plus these 3. Now you have to say, do I have a good enough hand without having to chase? Do I have a good enough hand with these 2 and these 3 to call all raises to hang in for the turn? If the answer is no, and you can't, if you're not at least 4 to something, 4 to a straight, 4 to a flush, at this moment, okay, even this ace 10, okay, you got 3 to a straight, but you have no flush draw or anything. This is not that good, okay? Now, if they check all the way around and they give you a free shot to look, fine. But you have to think to yourself, now an ace 10 is still high. You know, it still might be the highest on the table. So it's still good enough, but you have to be careful. You have to be careful when you have 5 cards that don't have 4 to something. Okay? Because if you don't, chances are, remember, 25 cards sitting over here, the odds are just, you're not going to get them. Okay? So this is longevity. Over time, you may get lucky once, but over time, you'll end up getting beat. So now you have 5 cards to look at, and you have to ask the same question that you asked when you only had 2 cards. Is that 5 cards good enough, or at least 4 to something, 4 to a straight, 4 to, is it good enough to hang with a raise? If somebody raised your ass, do you feel confident? If you do not, and you think you're weak at that point, get out. Okay? Just get out. Wait for the next hand. Remember? Bump on a pickle, man. And you wait until you have something, and then you just swing at them. Okay? Now, let's say, though, that this looked like this. Now what? Not only do you have 2 high cards here, they're suited. Nope, that ain't what I wanted. Hold on. Let me find that Queen of Hearts. Give me a second, y'all. There it is. All right. What if that's your flop? Now, I'm looking at these 5 cards going, well, true enough, somebody could have queens, somebody could have jacks, somebody could have 6s, but I'm staying for the turn because I have 4 to a straight, 4 to a flush, and they're high, 4 to a straight flush, 4 to a royal flush. That has value to it. It is worth staying. Okay, because I still have 2 more cards. Okay, I still have 2 more cards. So even if something like that was to hit, okay, now chances are, even if somebody had 2 hearts in their hand, they still don't have a flush yet. But on this one, I have the straight at this moment. And once you have a hand like that, that is in your mind and most likely better than anybody else, then you start swinging and raising raises. Don't you worry about nothing else. You start swinging, okay? So then we got 2 shots at it. Now let's see what happens. I'm going to shuffle these, and then I'm going to throw 2 out just to see. I'm going to show you something. Looky there. I still didn't hit it, and I had 4 to it, but it was worth it. This is one of the rare cases when you got 4 to something that you can look, even to the river. All right, that's another reason you're playing a cash game. You can't go broke. They can't whoop your ass in one hand like they can no limit or pot limit. You can now, on a good strong 4 to something, okay, you can hang just to see. But if it's only 3 to something, you know, like, let's see. Like that. If it's only 3 to something after 5, now you got to catch them both. Ain't worth it. Get out. Okay? So, hopefully I haven't confused you guys, because I don't mean to. I just want to keep this fairly basic. Alrighty, for this video, fairly basic. I've told you why I want you to do a cash game versus pot limit versus no limit. The next video we'll get into tournaments. But if you'll just remember that rank that I gave you, Ace, this is your first two cards, Ace 10, suited or not, to a Jack 10. Okay? If your cards are anywhere in there, it can be King, Queen, Jack, King, I don't care. It's good enough to see the flop. It's good enough to call a raise. If you have any pair, I don't care, twos through aces, you will stay to see the flop. Then, after the flop, when you get those three cards out there, okay, just like that, I want you to have 4 to something, 4 to a flush, 4 to a straight, with 2 cards left. Now you have a shot. You have a shot at it. If you still only have 3 to something with 5 cards, just get out. I don't really care how high they are, because somebody is going to stay to the river and they'll do a little pair or something and beat your ass. And it's just not worth chasing. You don't have to. Okay? You wait for the next hand, and then once you eventually will get something good, then you swing and swing and swing. You don't worry about check raises. You don't worry about being coy. When you play a cash game, you play tight and you play your cards. If you play it like I'm telling you to, they're never going to wipe you out. Okay, and in most cases, you're going to be setting yourself up for a good chance to drag a pot. Okay, so there's your basic cash game. Why I want you to do it, sort of what I want you to stay with on the first 2 cards, and then when the flop comes, I want you to have 4 to something. And if you don't, go ahead and get out, unless everybody checks. If everybody checks and gives you a free ride, fine. There's nothing wrong with hanging in for the free ride. But if they start swinging and raising and you still have only 2 cards left and you're chasing, don't do it. In the long run, you're going to save so much more money by not doing that. Okay? If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, some of you ain't going to even agree with me. And that's okay too. I've been doing this a long time, and I win a lot of money playing this way. Yes, if I get into a higher pot limits, tournaments, whatever, I will play differently, but not on these little cash games. I'm going to let these loose cannons that come to Vegas or come to the casino who think they're Daniel Negreanu, I'm going to whoop their ass just because I'm going to be tight. I'm not going to be loose, just throwing chips in there, and then when the time comes, I'm going to take their money. I'm just biding my time. That's all I'm doing. Okay? All right, so that'll be the end of video 1, and the next video, we'll start getting into pot limits, no limits, and tournaments. And in my third video, to end the series, I'm going to get into tells. What you look for in a person. Are they lying? Are they bluffing? Are they telling the truth? There's several really good ones I want to share with you, but right now we're not ready for that. Right now, I don't care. You don't bluff. You just do it like I told you. It's safe. It's conservative, but it works. Okay? Anyway, leave me a comment if you want to. If you liked the video, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. If you didn't, well, you can give me the thumbs down if you want. But consider subscribing, maybe. But the best thing that you could do for me, folks, share this video. Share this video to anybody that you think this channel will help. All right, so until the next time, be great.